whereas it's the cultural aspects that affect your nonverbal communication as a child. So Italian children actually gesture twice as many times as Canadian and American children do. And also, in toddlers, they did a longitude study of 2 to 3 year olds in preschool that women, well, not women, the girls were able to start complex sentence structures quicker than the boys. Okay. And then, so, after the child development, another aspect of gestures is smiling, nodding, eye contact, or I guess attentivity in general. So there is a movement coming along called smile politics. It's like this thing where women in general have to smile as a tool. You have to, women are using their faces as a greeting mechanism, whereas men only smile if they are happy. So in the use of gestures with your face, it's like if women are known to use more smiling, more eye contact, and more nodding, but in all the experiments where women do as many nodding, smiling, all these things as men or less, they are actually ignored, interrupted, etc. It seems that in the use of gestures, though women use these things more, if they actually use them less, then they are also disrespected. Whereas if men use these techniques more, they get more attention. So it's like that's a kind of an ongoing theme here. If men do what women naturally do, then they are considered more dominant. Whereas if women do less of what they are typically assumed to do, such as smile, nod, maintain eye contact, then they are assumed to be apathetic and attentive and generally disinterested. So how does this relate in the world? So in this world where power is everything, money reflects status, the significance worldwide is who you are isn't necessarily what you're presenting, but how people perceive your status to be. So dominance on a worldwide scale is typically displayed with a relaxed body, a stern to negative face, and a use of items to take up space. So these are the things that typically display that you're a dominant person that commands the area. And this isn't just like America, this isn't just men, this isn't just women, this is just like a general statement. However, in cultural differences, in Asian countries, and especially in Chinese countries, they did a business global experiment of who displays more dominant strategies when negotiating. So basically that means that in the differences in gender, Chinese businessmen were more likely to use space, but they were not likely to be relaxed. And the women actually were similar. And the biggest difference was, actually, sorry, I forgot to talk about the Canadians. So Canadians were more negative in the face, but they had a relaxed body and they didn't spread out their things. And then the women Canadians were actually a strange mixture of both, where they didn't display too many dominant traits either way unless they were with other women, and then they were more likely to display dominant traits. Canadian women were like the outliers in this experiment that I'm explaining. but the general gist is that dominance is interpreted differently across countries, and yet in each scenario, men are typically more dominant, and in each strategy, if women adopt these dominant behaviors, they are usually worse off. And in this particular scenario, Canadian and Chinese men who adopted more submissive traits weren't treated worse either. They were actually treated about the same as the normally dominant men. Okay, and so back to what I was saying a few slides ago, if women are so naturally intuitive and better at all these things and information processing and this, that, and the third, where is it coming from? Because all the testing that I talked about with the brain and the fear, all of that said that our brains are the same. All of that said we experience emotion the same. So what's the difference? And I don't really know what could create women to have more of a intuitive nature, but one of the possibilities is kin versus non-kin socialization, which is this thought that when we were like evolutionarily disadvantaged, can't think of the word for ancestors, we didn't. Oh, okay, so women were usually taking from their tribes, and then they had to go with the male family members. So like if the guy from a family and the woman from a family got married, then they would move to the guy's family. So that would mean that the woman in that society would have to be the expressionable one, the personable one, the nice one, because she has to go to a foreign land and be like, hey guys, I'm your new sister. Whereas men are socialized in their structure. They were like able to hunt with their brothers. And so like that whole dynamic could be an explanation to why women are typically more nicer and expressive and men are able to be more stoic and express happiness when they're happy. Another possible explanation could be that women are aware of the danger that they're in on near constant status, only because the world is perceiving male as dominance, as one, and two, because we are physically smaller. Like there's a dichotomy of gender in human beings. And also, through all my research in emotion expression, there's only one emotion that men express more than women and are able to identify more than women, but only some of the times, and that is anger. So, in conclusion, differences in nonverbal communication between genders do not come from a difference in intent. It comes from a difference in reading. It comes from your decoding or from society's decoding. But generally, women are more perceptive and expressive, and men are considered the standard.